started walking down the street. And at that point, I wasn't in my head going, what am I going to do? How can I tell people why are they doing this to me? I wasn't asking questions I didn't have the answers to anymore. I was laughing hysterically, and it just felt like I had a moment of utter euphoria. I was just hysterically laughing. That's when I got to the local park. That's where I was walking to. It was a park right down the street from the house I was living at. I got there, and that's when I said, okay, here you are. This is where you're at. I stood there for a while. I kept telling myself, you're here, but I didn't actually do anything. And that's when I questioned, why am I here? I looked at the gun in my hand and said, this is why you're here. This is what you're doing. And at that point, I was actually stopped and thought about, I went to go put the gun to my head, and I stopped. And I put it under my chin, and I stopped. And I kept finding a different place to put the gun. And then I burst out hysterically laughing. I was just like, wow. That's kind of when the reality of what I was about to do dawned on me. I think I was kind of trying to avoid it. I was taking a while. I was contemplating things, and I was just laughing to myself. That was my avoidance tactic. I think I finally realized what I was about to do and how real it was. And that's when I also didn't even know if the gun was going to work. I didn't have much experience with guns, actually. Never was educated about them. I didn't know if the safety was on or if it was loaded. At one point I thought, is this going to work? Should I just fire this off in the distance? But I didn't. I just stopped and went, no, this is going to work, and this is what you're doing. So I just stopped and put the gun to my head, and I pulled the trigger.
So you put it up with your right hand, and it was up at like where did the bullet go through?
It right at my right temple, right there, is the entrance wound. And yes, I did put it right there, point blank, and it exited in the left side of my face in this general area. I don't know the exact point because this whole cheek completely shattered out, so it's hard to tell where, but the general vicinity right there.
Do you remember what it felt like?
I do not. I remember what it felt like to put the gun to my head, but I don't even remember pulling the trigger, to be honest.
Wow.
I just completely went unconscious.
When did you recover from consciousness?
So I was in a coma and on life support in the hospital for about 9 weeks. And when I came out of the coma, it was 9 weeks later, it took me a while for my memory to start working again. With the significant brain damage, I had some memory issues. I didn't start actually really remembering things until right around Thanksgiving, about November 24th of that year.
So the suicide attempt was September 12th.
Yes, it was September 12th, 2004.
Okay, so 9 weeks in the hospital, and then around Thanksgiving, so about a month and a half, you're able to recover from consciousness and gain your memory back.
Yeah. It's when I was still in the hospital at the time, and the things that I can still remember about my hospital time. I don't remember anything in those first couple of weeks, but what I still do remember and retain and bring with me now is around those last couple of weeks of hospital time.
Do you remember what was like the first memory you had when you came to after being unconscious for that long?
No, I can't pinpoint one exact memory.
Okay, or feeling?
No, that either. I can't pinpoint a feeling.
Okay. Do you know how you ended up in the hospital?
When I did start being conscious and aware of where I was and everything, yes, I did clearly remember what I did. I remember what I did and why I was there. I didn't want to accept it. I was just, oh yeah, this is what happened. It was just kind of mumbling around.
Well, I'm saying, like, how did you get there logistically? Somebody saw you and picked you up, or somebody called the police or the ambulance? Like,
yeah, that I physically don't remember, wasn't conscious for, but from what I was told, a gentleman who was actually walking through the park in the morning with his dog, he found me the following day, the next morning, walking through the park.
So you were in the park. What time did you shoot yourself in the head?
This was probably in between like 7 and 8 o'clock at night.
Okay, so you were out there all night for like 10 or 12 hours.
Approximately 10 to 12 hours. That's a very good time estimate, yes, because there was the morning when someone found me walking their dog.
And you were still alive.
I was alive. I was completely unconscious, and I don't know how I survived. I'm so grateful I didn't even completely bleed out to death for being that much damage for that long.
Do you know who found you?
I never got his name, no. I never got the gentleman's name.
I wonder what his experience must have been like to see that. Have you ever thought about that?
Yes, I have. I have thought about that, and I wonder the condition I was in and what it felt like for him to find me. Yeah.
You know, were you happy that you had this second chance at life, that you didn't die?
Yes, I was very grateful that I wasn't successful with my attempt because yeah, attempting suicide, trying to kill myself wasn't what I was actually trying to do. That was not my intention. I was just trying to communicate to people I felt disrespected and unloved. I was trying to let people know I didn't appreciate what they were doing to me. Wanted them to just feel guilty and say sorry to me. I didn't think it was fair for me to punish myself and for me to take away my life and everything. Yeah, I don't know why I came to that conclusion and why I did that. I wasn't thinking clearly, but I'm grateful I wasn't successful with my attempt because I wasn't trying to go.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Did anything change? Like those people who you're trying to send this message to, did they reach out?
Ironically, one of the people I was trying to communicate this most to, the girlfriend that I was dating at the time, no, they even disrespected me even farther, and they really basically became absent out of my in my life at the time.
She probably didn't know how to handle it.
Didn't know how to handle it. Didn't know how to yeah. Didn't know how to tackle the guilt and the fact that I went through that suicide attempt. I had a brain damage and vision loss, and I changed so much, and they didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah. How was your family?
My family, because also I have mixed feelings about it because of the sexual abuse that happened in the hospital. When I actually came out of the coma and was conscious and awake in my hospital time, I don't actually ever remember any of my family ever visiting me in the hospital. So I felt a lot of disrespect and unlove from that. That I just tried to kill myself and my family wasn't even visiting me in the hospital. But later, when I found out that I was being sexually abused in the hospital, that was my answer. I was like, okay, again, it was something they just didn't know how to talk to me about. Their son just tried to kill himself. He was in a coma and being sexually abused. How are they going to have this conversation with him? They didn't know how to talk to me about it. They didn't know how to not talk to me about it. So for their own self-preservation and how much it was driving them completely nuts, they just took some space and some time. They backed off and just tried to figure out how to handle it themselves and just didn't know how to talk to me too much. But so when I first got released from the hospital, I didn't even call any of my family members. I called a friend and I lived with a friend for a while and I just started doing real world by myself and figured out life again by myself. But over the years, my relationship with my family has gotten so much incredibly better. I have a much healthier relationship with my mom and my father. I think we communicate better now. I think we're in a healthier, like, we're in a good place. I think we've all grown a lot and we have a good sense of communication. I think, yeah, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for our communication now and our healthier relationship.
Was anybody held responsible? Was your mom, like, did anything happen to her because of the gun or anything?
No, not at all. Something I was actually a little disappointed by the careless ownership of the gun. I don't even know if it was legally registered or anything to her, if she was a legal gun owner.
That's surprising.
Very surprising, yeah, that something was never investigated or done.
Yeah, there's no like legal ramifications to what she did. Did the state like intervene at all or do anything?
They did not, no. No one contacted me or asked if I ever wanted to press charges or as far as I know. Yeah, but something I've thought about before, I still have the option if I want to actually file a police report.
I want to go back to how you were at the hospital. So, how long did it take before you were released?
My release date was actually December 11th. December 11th, so it was almost exactly 3 months. It was September 12th until December 11th.
Isn't that crazy that somebody can shoot themselves in the head and recover in 3 months?
Yeah, it is pretty amazing.
It's like a miracle, Mark.
It really is. Especially, sorry, go ahead.
Like, who do you know that where that has happened before? Like, that's crazy.
When you think about the physics of it and stuff, it's just really hard to process. It's like, wait, no. I shot myself in the head point blank, and I was found 12 hours later,
Yeah.
and I survived, and I'm pretty high functioning, and it only took that short period of time for me to, wow.
And you're high functioning. You're not even like I mean, I want to be really careful with my words here, but at the same time, I'm just going to be me and I'm just going to be a little blunt. But you're not that bad. You're not like, you don't seem like severely disabled. You know, like you have your consciousness, you have your facilities, you are happy, you're smiling, you're joking, you're inspiring people, you lived. That is such a miracle.
Yeah, something I'm very, very grateful for, especially
Yeah.
because back to that 3 month thing, the last basically like 2 to 3 weeks I was in the hospital, they were just holding me just for review to make sure everything was good. And there wasn't necessary to be doing surgery and stuff. I was just being held to make sure all was well and I was managing.
Yeah.
So even the fact that doctors were able to keep me alive and do all the surgery and what they needed in such a short period of time.
Did you remember any of the doctors or have their names or anything like that?
I don't actually remember any of the specific doctors or their names, but I'm grateful I recently requested all of my medical records from my hospital time. So I do have all the doctors and nurses' names if I ever want to refer to them.
Do you remember if they said anything to you or how they felt or what the vibe was like in the hospital?
Most of what I just remember is they were just actually grateful for my healing and my recovery. And most of the conversation where they were just, yeah, we're just doing occasional MRIs and testing to make sure everything is still healing as well as you're doing and you're going to be out here soon. It was just a hopeful, they were grateful.
I got like the biggest smile on my face just thinking about that moment. Even though you were alone, which is sad, and I'm sorry that you had to do that alone. But at the same time, it's a miracle, and you got through it, and it showed like really fucking like deep strength, man. Like that's incredible.
Thank you. And that's why I'm so grateful for this interview so we can share my story to help inspire more people.